Sports Center.
I'm Chris Berman. Let's get straight to the action. In our first game this week, we had the Texans come away with a 7-point win. Porter stepped it up this week and gave his team some added firepower for the win. Andre Davis had over 50 yards receiving and helped his Falcons beat the Rams. Over in Cleveland, home of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, we had the Browns come away with a 7-point win. In a long-standing NFC rivalry, we had the Lions win their 4th game of the year. Over in Raljean, Maryland, we had the Redskins get sent away with a 7-point loss. Jets, Patriots.
Webb set to receive the kick at his own 20. Actually will be inside his 20 to the 19. Gets a little wall to the right with a spin move. Now goes back down the left-hand side. And they're sleeping on defense. He could go all the way. 81 yards.
The Patriots go on to win this by the final score of 14-11. We had an interesting free agency pickup of note here. Trey's got the lowdown for us. Trey?
All right, Chris. Let's switch gears and talk about players that'll have new homes in the National Football League, as free agency continues to play such a huge role in determining a team's makeup. Brian is going to find himself with a new club, and he'll be in a new tax bracket too. 4 years, $4.5 million, plus a $1.3 million signing bonus.
The Titans got 300-plus yards from their offense in their victory at Nashville. We had a big injury in this one, and Trey has the lowdown for us. Trey?
All right, Chris, thanks. Unfortunately, we did have some big injuries this week, but before we get to those, we're going to run down the rest of the NFL. Banks won't see action for a while, and that'll be a big offensive loss for his team. A dislocated elbow is the problem, keeping him out for 6 weeks. On to the serious news of the week. Bradley had to be placed on injured reserve, so he'll be on the sidelines for the rest of the year. Just a key blow to the heart of this defense. Now the big story of the day. Chris Jenkins is going to find himself on the shelf, and that will be a major blow to his team. So that'll do it for now. Chris, let's send it back to you.
The Seahawks won at home, but will take to the road next week to meet the Panthers. Hill stepped it up this week and gave his team some added firepower for the win. Packers, Raiders.
Nash is just shy of the midfield stripe and takes the quick handoff with a spin. They're fooled! Nobody was deep on the left side! 10-5, touchdown!
The Raiders win this one by the final score of 34-31. We had a big trade also of note here. Trey's got the lowdown for us. Trey?
Over now to news of a trade that might have some ramifications. Wilson leaves the Raiders and is on the move to the Falcons, so he'll be asked to be a big part in what'll be a revamped offensive line. In exchange, they'll get someone to beef up their roster. Hoffman ought to be a good addition up front, as he'll add a little muscle to an offensive line that could certainly use it.
Roy pulled down 100-plus receiving yards and helped his Ravens beat the Jaguars. In the Big Apple, New York, we had the Giants win by a 9-point margin. And in our final game, we had the Panthers come away victorious. So another week in the books here on ESPN, but what do you say we hand out a few game balls before we go? Here's my primetime players. That'll do it, sports fans. I'm Chris Berman, and thanks so much for joining us here in the Bristol studios. We'll see you next week right here on ESPN, the Worldwide League.